Here we are back. You might know us from the Instagram page, Inside Running Podcast, Shoe Geeks, but we originally started as a podcast, funnily enough. I'm here with the two original members, Michael Nishke from Adelaide. Michael Nitter.
Hey, mate. How you going? How's my internet? Is it working?
It's real average.
Is it really?
Sound like you're in a spaceship.
No, I'm good. Yeah, Zara's watching Frozen in the background, keeping her entertained for the next hour.
Okay. It's chewing up your internet, is it? Is that how it works in Adelaide?
It probably is, to be honest.
It's like hot water. You can't have a shower and do the dishes at the same time.
We struggle with that as well. So,
you know where they don't struggle with things like that? In Sydney.
Are you in the pool house, Tom?
I've got internet, so hopefully, yeah, nice and strong. We'll see.
You are very clear, actually. You're a lot clearer than Michael, which is probably not a bad thing.
How are you going?
All right. Me, I'm good. I just finished a workout, actually. In one of the best experiences of a race shoe first up that I've ever had. Unfortunately, we can't talk about it. It's a shoe that is part of an existing series. So it's not a brand new model. It's an update. And there have been reviews done online already. However, we access our early pairs through the product team. And we're not allowed to sort of talk about things before the products become available because we're not part of the marketing plan of the marketing side of the company. And when you see those shoe reviewers get their shoes, that's all part of a big plan from the marketing team from a company, and they're seeding those shoes on purpose, and they're given dates where they can talk about it. We're not part of that plan. So we're just more giving feedback to the product teams. But unfortunately, we can't talk about the shoes until they're actually released because it breaks protocol, which is a shame because it's some great stuff to talk about that we've been wearing lately.
That shoe, the line of shoes that we given, I had one of the best first experiences in a race shoe with a shoe adjacent to that one as well. So it is a shame we can't talk about it, but I've already given some of my review and feedback already just from the initial experience. So it is pretty exciting, to be honest. I think we're seeing a bit of a change in sort of how people are building the shoes, and the first feel is becoming quite extraordinary, depending on how extravagant the shoe is, right? Which we'll go through a couple of shoes today that are pretty extravagant in terms of how they feel.
Yeah, and like Tom, he might get us over the line to be part of this marketing plan for the brands, like given his influence. His influencer ties. I mean, you're in the pretty area of Sydney. Winning races. We're not winning races, except if it's handicapped, like for Michael.
I'm not even winning those races, mate. I'm winning Masters races. They're over 35s.
Yeah, I reckon Tom's got to do a bit more work here. We did start an Instagram page since our last podcast, and it's been super successful. Like, I'm just going to pull up some stats on it now. But since we started it, where are we at to in terms of follows now? 1,952 people follow our page. And then we only really got on board maybe a month ago. So that's been good fun. Tom, you haven't done much at all on there, mate. Like, I'm looking through now. I'm not even seeing a Tom. I saw one Tom post.
I've done one or two.
One or two, yeah.
What I love about it is that every now and then a review goes up from one of you guys, and I think almost the exact opposite to what you guys review. That's the best part of this. It's going up, and it's not even really, agreed upon. That's what's so good about this, is that I don't know what's going to go up each day. That's what's good about it.
Yeah, we'll probably get some order to it at some point. But I also think that's the good thing, is that it's super raw. We don't really edit it too much. And we just sort of give our initial thoughts that are fresh in our mind after we finish running in the actual shoe.
You boys are getting more shoes than me too, by the way. So
size 13 is hard to cater for, Tommy.
What's that?
Size 13 is hard to cater for.
We also buy our shoes too.
True.
Hey, I
I've
bought
got
a pair of shoes since the last pod I'm going to talk about today.
It's a pulse, isn't
Okay.
it?
So get excited.
Well, why don't you start then, Tom? What have you been doing? What are you training for? Chuck us some shoes you've been wearing. Let's go through a bit of your lineup.
So motivation's back for training. So I had our family holiday. Got back from that and stuck back into training. So it's good. Got motivation back. Hamstrings actually feeling. So I've been dealing with this proximal hamstring issue for a while. It's feeling heaps better. So just a combination of time, rehab. I think a little bit of just downtime with not doing as much running as well probably helped. And in terms of like the shoes, I've actually been trying to wear a little bit less shoe, which suits me anyway. I don't mind slightly lower stack or less cushion shoes, but I definitely feel like it's helping the hamstring. Just having a little bit less shoe on foot just helps maintain that slightly higher cadence, which my hamstring seems to appreciate, both in the session or race shoes and the trainers.
How does
And
it
even
do that? Tom? Can you just go through the mechanics of how that works?
So basically, and Nita put something up, I think, I don't know if it was a story or a reel, but when you were comparing those two, like the Vaporfly to the, what were you comparing it to? The Elite, the Fast R3?
Fast R3, yeah.
From Puma? Yeah, so shoes can have an impact on biomechanics. It's not universal, like it can be individual. So there's some studies that show not everyone will alter their mechanics consistently and reliably, but there does seem to be a trend, like when you go higher stack, basically when you go higher stack shoes, you can take longer stride lengths. You can spend a little bit longer on the ground. So that's what Nita was showing on his own sort of stats when he was comparing those two shoes. So taking longer stride lengths for some people is part of the performance. I think potentially part of the economy gain is that if it feels good to take a longer stride length, you're probably getting some free, free pace or free economy gains. So higher stack, longer stride length seems to be a thing, and longer stride lengths might mean that there's more proximal loading. So I feel like what I feel like is like classic examples is for me Vaporfly versus Alphafly. When I wear the Alphas, I can't maintain the same cadence. I have a slower cadence, and it feels like my hamstring goes through like a longer eccentric phase during swing phase. So then, like in preparation for landing, I just feel more hammy load, basically. So,
and a lot of the hamstring load happens just before you enter into the ground, right? So when you're in the swing phase, when your leg's coming down at the ground, there's more eccentric load on the hamstring. The more time spent there, maybe the more risk as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's I definitely feel that, and I would say like data sort of supports that as well. But yeah, I've been enjoying just training in a variety of more simple. They're not even that low, like, to be honest. Like as we know, like all the shoes are. Like I did a presentation to like a local physio clinic recently, and I sort of did a little deep dive into history of like picking like one brand, like for example ASICS. And I picked the Nimbus, and I looked at like what's happened 2017 to 2025 to the Nimbus, and it's wild, like how that shoe has evolved in that relatively short space of time, like lower stack, and now it just keeps getting higher and softer, and we see no end in sight. Like the latest one, the 27, is even higher than the 26. So I've been not wearing my Nimbus and being more in like you boys know I love my Pulse. So the Pulse, the New Balance. Actually, I brought back out the New Balance 880. Quite like that shoe.
The current version, the 15.
Current version. Like it's gone up a little bit higher, but it still feels nimble. It still feels nimble enough on foot, and feels way better to me than the 1080, which just feels too soft. So it's kind of like that Goldilocks principle. Like for me, I don't want too high or too soft. It's a little bit higher, but it's definitely not too soft. So,
and I think, Tom, like you mentioned that word nimble, like even the Evo SL from Adidas, it's pretty high stack shoe. but it's lighter. It feels nimble. I definitely take a higher cadence rate in that shoe when I'm jogging in it compared to, say, obviously shoes like Neo Vista and even Neo Zen, which is softer on the ground.
Yeah.
Like those shoes, and they're a bit lighter, pulling the heel through and pulling your leg through is probably a bit less hamstring load as well. Just the weight of the shoe and making you run a bit more nimble might be a nice way of deloading proximal stress. So you see why you gravitate.
Two other factors apart from the stack heights, the stiffness, so like having a plate or not, and then the weight, as you said. I reckon if it's lighter as well, probably helps. So one shoe that I've been wanting to try for ages, and I finally I didn't get this for free. I paid for it. So the Mac. Julian, you sell this, don't you?
Yeah, we sell the Max 6. It is the Max 6 from Hoka.
So yeah, this is the Max 6. So I really like it. I thought I would, and I definitely do. It's just simple. Again, it's like one of those like simple mix of, it's soft, but it's not too soft. Like it almost feels like I could almost long run in it. Like it almost feels like, to me, not quite as fun and bouncy as the Evo SL from Adidas, but it's kind of like a stable daily trainer version of an Evo SL. That's how I would kind of describe the Max 6. It's still got it's got a nitrogen infused EVA. So it's bouncier than the other daily trainers that I've been using. A little bit higher stack in the forefoot. And the fact, I just love this. They get the stability from the geometry. So it's just having this medial midsole sort of filled in a little bit here. They've actually got like a lateral cutaway. So there's a medial bias to the midsole geometry here. So to me, it just really stabilizes the frontal plane. It's not excessively, it's just this subtle amount of stability that for me is perfect in that shoe. So I reckon, it reminds me of I don't know if you guys remember, like the Nimbus Light had a similar sort of thing. It had like this lateral cutaway, but it was filled in medial. And so it kind of made that real soft shoe stable.
But a bit less stack on the Nimbus Light off memory.
Oh yeah, this is higher. This is a bit more fun. But yeah, I've done like some medium long runs in it. And yeah, it's plenty of cushion. I think if people find that shoe like not cushioned enough, it's like you need to like, you're just so used to so much stack. You just
How long do you think it'll last?
I've probably done like 180 or maybe 180K in it. I don't know. It feels pretty good. I think the from my experience, like for a given density, if it's nitrogen infused, it's more durable. It's like the Brooks, those Brooks midsoles which have the nitrogen infused mix. I find them pretty durable. I reckon it'll be. What do you find? You don't find it durable, this one?
No, I haven't run in it, but I see a lot of clapped out ones come back in that have for customers that have worn them. The shoe just feels very different to what it was at the start. Like I guess there's a bit of maybe, I don't know how long people have worn them for. Maybe it's a shoe that people really crush into the ground. But yeah, just see a fair bit of wear and tear on them.
Compared to a normal EVA, I think it'll definitely last longer from my feel so far.
I think the nitrogen infused foam just stays more resilient for a longer period of time, I think. So it probably keeps its bounce for a bit more. But yeah, when people ask how long a shoe lasts, like it's relative, right? If you compare it to a brand new one, you say, oh, this thing's over early. But if you compare it to an adjacent shoe that's not nitrogen infused, it still feels better than that other shoe from baseline, say like maybe an 880. So it's tricky to know, and give it an actual value. It depends what you're comparing it to. So, but one thing's for sure, it has this, Julian. Tom pays for a shoe and he loves it. So it's amazing how much you love a shoe you pay for.
You don't find any.
You don't find any stuff all the time. Like, I'm more critical on things I'm going to pay for. Surely.
True. Yeah.
Compare it to the Asics Pulse.
It's a lot more cushion in the Pulse. It's actually I'm actually when I put the Pulse back on, I'm like, ooh, yeah, it's pretty minimal. I still use it.
I've never really found that. It's funny, we do pick up different things because I put the Max 6 on a few times and thought, feels like an old Kinvara. That's where it fits for me.
Really?
Like
it's so much more cushion than an old Kinvara, mate.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's got a bit of a cult following, the Max 6, and now you've joined it. You're drinking the Kool-Aid.
yeah, no, it's good. Definitely
Yeah.
good. I think it's not as popular as it should be.
All right. Well, Nida, what have you been wearing that we haven't before we all review together?
Look, it's funny, you guys have it, but you're definitely not wearing it. So I'll talk about this. So look, we'll talk about the Neo Vista 2, which we all got together. And look, it's not a huge update from the first version, is it really? The geometry is relatively similar. The main change is they've got this big segmentation. They've filled it a little bit in the midpoint through here. So this I think they call it a glass infused fiber plate, which stiffens it up. The major difference is even the knitted upper, I would say, is not far removed from what the first one was. It's got these stabilizing little plastic shanks around the medial lateral part of the heel. It doesn't make it much stable, but they put this the nitrogen infused TPU, which lives in the Neo Zen, and they put that above the plate, and beneath the plate remains that same the same traditional energy, the non TPU based energy, the EVA energy. So they still have this sort of this sort of smooth speed assist system. For me, I've been wearing this a lot for easy days, especially after workouts and some long runs. So my Wednesday, this is used the most. And if my calves feel a bit sore, I'm putting this shoe on specifically. Um, Look, I think the nitrogen infused makes it an update in terms of feel, but this shoe is still a staple. People who tend to wear it probably would wear the first one and still enjoyed it as well. You guys struggle with it because of just how soft and high stacked the midsole is, and how much of a liability this upper is for that type of environment. I don't have that issue, but you guys probably should explain why you have battled a little bit with the fit of this shoe compared to others, and what you think you would do to change it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've actually started to find my groove with the Neo Vista. Like the upper in the beginning, I felt was just much too flexible for a shoe that soft. So when I'm starting to direct my load or force into the outside column of the shoe, if you pull it up again, Nita, can you show us the columns on the bottom? Yeah, that's it. So you see that lateral column. Most people land on the outside of their foot and roll in. Like that's the main or the most traditional sort of gait pattern. And when you isolate an area, a small surface area like that column, and you direct a lot of load into a small area, you get a higher rate of compression or a higher rate of force into there, and you sink into the column. Now, on top of that, like the actual logistics of that with your foot sinking laterally, the outside, like the knit upper does not help to control your foot from falling off the top of that column. And so I feel unstable in it, and I feel like my foot's constantly sliding off the side of the shoe. That's an exaggerated way of explaining what I feel in the shoe.
And look, if you do hit the front part of the shoe, there's a bit more surface area, especially medially through here, to have more room for error. But there is less room for error at the back, and these small plastic shanks that live on the upper are meant to be guiding, but they're pretty mobile still, pretty simple and pretty lightweight. So they're not really, if you're hitting the back of the heel in that small column, you haven't got a big wall on the outside stopping you from falling off the outside of the shoe.
Yeah. But that said, I reckon I've learnt the shoe a little, and I've found the right spot for it where my foot hits the deck. It took a little bit for me to get used to and to work it out, but now I can put it on pretty comfortably. And because I'm sort of aware of the issue, I avoid, well, I maybe change my running a little bit to the shoe, which is a conversation we're going to have later on. But it sort of works for this one. I've been able to find a sweet spot where I can run in it and enjoy it, because the foam has a special quality to it. Like it's really soft and bouncy, and you feel supported, but it feels exciting too.
Yeah, it is the most alien foam. I remember putting the Neo Zen on for the first time as well. And this layer at the top and then securing it with the EVA in the base works quite well. Because this shoe, I feel the ground the least out of any shoe that I own.
Tom, are you still wearing it?
Oh, I can't wear it. So this is like one of those issues, like with reviewing shoes. I'd love to give a review, but it just doesn't suit me. I feel like a bit like with the Neo Zen, I was a bit like, Bambi on ice. I just felt like I was just not only the upper, but just even the midsole just felt a little bit too much for me, and I was just all over the place, and I just felt like it was injury risk for me, and I wasn't enjoying it. So I was like, well, yeah, it's just not for me. But yeah, like we were saying before, I do think it's an unfortunate mismatch. Like I think if you're going to go that high and that soft, you got to match the upper to the midsole. So I think for most people, a slightly more structured upper would be a nice addition to that. I don't know if that's if they're planning on.
So I've
in the future, but
I haven't seen a new Neo Zen. This is brand new. I have seen another version of a Mizuno shoe similar to this, and they've gone to a more knitted upper with a stronger vamp and a normal tongue setup, not a booty. So it's there's a bit of promise in the future, I think, here.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, I think only two of us have the shoe I'll talk about next. So this is the Puma Nitro. Wait, I'll read it out properly. The Puma Nitro Fast R3. Not sure if it says Deviate in the name or not.
Probably sure it is.
Deviate Nitro Fast R3. So this came out with one of the best promotional launches getting around. It launched on the weekend of Ballarat Marathon, or just before Ballarat, London, Boston. That could be the three main races that were on around that time. So we saw a lot of Puma athletes wearing it that weekend, and a lot of, if you're lucky enough to get one, there were a lot of even local type athletes wearing it at those events. They've got two shoes in their range, the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3, which is a little bit more of a traditional shoe. It doesn't have these big cutouts. It's full contact outsole. It's actually a really nice race shoe. This foam here is beautiful. I'll let you go into the details of it, Nita, but this is their more aggressive spaceship one. You can see it's very segmented. So big, like rear foot pod, and then forefoot surface area is a little bit wider than the rear foot. Has a plate in the shoe that extends all the way out the toe. It's very rocky. You can see like the toe spring is very aggressive here, and there's like a real rear foot sort of cutaway as well. So there's not a lot of surface area for a runner to land on. It's a pretty narrow cut, super light shoe. Not sure the exact on it, maybe 190, but I'll let Nita get into the specs of it now, and then we can talk about how we found it.
Yeah, look, it's so slightly different colorway through here, same shoe. The big walkaway point is this got released with a paper. It was in preprint. I think it's still in the preprint, and they used Wout Hukama, who was one of the original researchers in the 4%. And the most unique thing in the study was they compared this shoe, I believe, to an Alpha Fly 3. They had a baseline shoe, but the low and the hold of it is that everyone who wore this shoe, all 15 participants, were slightly more economical over their short periods of time, like 5-minute intervals on the treadmill, using a bit less oxygen in this shoe compared to the Alpha Fly. And it's pretty rare that we see 100% response of the population to use this. And the paper was sort of talked a bit about how they used artificial intelligence to try and manipulate the plate. The plate is a bit more flexible than I'd say other plates in super shoes. But the midsole having ATPU, the first one we saw was one that Julian talked about last time, was the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2. They used the ATPU midsole. So we're starting to see this trend. And look, I'm sure everyone will claim in that paper looked at the plate and the design and the geometry, the lightweightness of this shoe, but probably the ATPU were the two walkaway points that made this shoe really popular. It's not soft as such, Julian, in the forefoot. It's very poppy and it's still quite soft, not as soft as what the Saucony is. If you hit the heel, I found the heel to be a lot softer than the forefoot on a relative scale. And so overall, this is the shoe that I ended up just doing a small treadmill study, and I compared this shoe because it did feel quite different, and it made me move a bit differently to, say, the Vaporfly 4, which we'll probably talk about in a second. So when I wore this shoe, I put it on the treadmill. I ran for 4-minute intervals. I did 3 in the Vaporfly, 3 in this, And the big difference was running at the same pace, which was 16.5 k's per hour. I took 177 strides a minute in this, and I took about 182 in the Vaporfly. The Vaporfly made me want to take a few more steps, maybe because I hit the forefoot a bit more, so there's a bit less substance. Maybe when there's a bit less beneath the foot, you want to like land a bit lighter and try and accommodate a bit more impact. There's a lot more beneath the foot in the forefoot through here, and it made me want to hit the foam hard, squash it, and release it. So I took a longer stride, and I spent longer time on the ground. And the economy was pretty similar. I was about 2 beats per minute less in this shoe, so it matched my gait a little bit more. But we're looking at a 40 mil stack, and I think originally the study said that was lower, but I think when they got released with the specs, it was 39 and 34 or 33. It was about a 5 or 6 millimeter drop in the forefoot, and I'm sure that varies between who's reviewing it. The plate's deep in the forefoot, and it's sort of like moderately high, so you can feel it a bit in the rear foot. This extension through the tip, I don't know how you felt with the extension through here, Julian. I found, look, Puma still have kept, but the width is still a bit of a problem for me. I went to my traditional true to size 10, and I still found a bit of a gap at the tip of the toe, but I couldn't go any smaller because the width was pretty much, and I've got a narrow foot, the width was pretty much at its limit at that size 10.5. But I felt like when I was running, I wanted to keep this tip on the ground as long as I could. So I was staying on the ground using the tip. And I don't hit the rear part of the shoe at all, and I still had a slightly sore mid-junction of the calf using this. It was felt a bit new for me to try and stay on the ground for a longer period of time. And I'm wondering just the increased ground contact time using the extra like lever or fulcrum short term can probably just give the calf a bit more load. So, and I'm sure it's the same if you hit the heel, drop into negative, and then try and get back over the plate and use that. There's probably a bit of risk in that. Look, it's a alien feeling shoe when you first put it on. I think the ATPU makes it feel like that, but they've kept it weight, and it's still going to work for some people that probably strike the fourth aspect of the foot. Like I know Christian loves it. He's the person that sort of seems to be the person that's talked it up more than any other person. I'm not 100% sure this is going to be more economical for all 15 people if I ran another study with this, though. I'm not 100% convinced on that. I'm not sure it will be for Tom, who loves that short sort of high frequency of stride. I'm super keen to see what Tom thinks of this shoe if he gets it on his foot, because he's the person I think that would be one of the non-responders to it, would be my guess.
Yeah, it's just so on that study that came out, like 5 minutes, the interval length, and everyone was talking about the improvement in efficiency or economy for that came out an extra 3-point-something% on top of the Alpha Fly, was it? Or the Vaporfly?
It was the Alpha 3.
The Alpha Fly, yeah. So the instant thing to think is, wow, this is the next secret. This is the next super shoe level, the best on the market. And I kind of, not that I got sucked up in that, but I got sucked up in the feeling of what this shoe can do over 5 minutes. And the first few interval sessions I did, like it felt amazingly bouncy. I felt like my heart rate was a lot less compared to other workouts that I'd done wearing similar shoes. And I thought, oh, this is great for me. Like this is working really well. The fit was fine. Didn't have any issues there. But what was happening was that I was getting really tight calves after the workouts. And then it was affecting me the next couple of days. And then I did a long workout in it where I did some hill repeats as well as like a longer sort of tempo. And my calf really tightened up. And I felt like there was something about this lever that just loaded my lower calf too much around the Achilles. I had to take a couple of days off, and I've been a bit scared and gun shy going back to it now. There were a few runners that ran and DNF'd in those marathons due to muscular pain or body related issues that I kind of wonder whether the shoe had something to do with it or not. So it's all well and good doing 5-minute interval tests in a shoe for economy testing, but the real question is how your body feels at 25K mark of a marathon or the 15K mark of a half marathon, and is it forgiving enough to allow you to continue to increase pace or maintain effort and not with less muscular fatigue and soreness? And that's the question.
And economy is not the limiting factor in every case. If you get it right and economy is better, you probably will get to the finish line first. But if there's another ailment that stops you beforehand, these things need to be taken into account, I think. So Look, you talked about running uphill in this shoe and the extra lever, for example. Like that's a contraindication for going uphill is making the tip of the toe further away from your foot. So,
yeah, that was hard work. That was actually really like I was thinking at the time. I wasn't really wondering, but I was just thinking I am having a terrible day going uphill, doing repeats today. And by the last rep, I was thinking I'm actually having a really hard time pushing up off this shoe. It's difficult to do, and I thought it must have something to do with
against the wall. Yeah, pushing a wall against the wall. That's what's going on when you go uphill with an extra lever.
Yeah, it wasn't functionally like smooth at all. So anyway, I think it's actually a really fun shoe. Someone like Christian, or I'm not sure what it is about his gait that works so well with it, but you might find like this could be your shoe. It could make a big difference to your running, or it might just be a short distance interval like it might end up for me. What else have we got? Tommy, your turn next.
So we all recently got a pair of the I was looking forward to getting this one. So the Vaporfly Next Percent 4. So I've always been a Vaporfly fan since the original 4%. I've enjoyed pretty much all the models. Like version 1 Next Percent was kind of has been up there as like my favorite super shoe of all time, and version 2 was slightly disappointed with that. Felt a little bit less lively underfoot, and then V3 was excited for that, and it felt maybe like almost too soft, and like it didn't have the response. Maybe slightly less stable. So yeah, I actually didn't have huge hopes for version 4 Vaporfly, particularly because I noticed, which is quite like against the trend of being like lower stack. So they slightly, I'm not sure exactly how much, by a few mils, but they've lowered the stack of the version 4 Next Percent.
36, I think it's 36 at the heel.
36.29.
Yeah, so it's a few mils lower. Which is interesting, because it's like everything is getting higher and everyone's trying to reach that sort of max legal stack in race shoes. So this is quite interesting they went that way. But I can't actually perceive, we'll be interested to hear what you guys think, but I can't perceive the lower stack. It actually, to me, feels, I prefer it. So I've only done 3 sessions in it now, and all kind of short intervals. So definitely need to go longer and on the road. But doing for the similar sort of workouts compared to V3, it feels more responsive. It is I can notice it is a little bit lighter on foot, so they have made it a bit lighter. And yeah, the forefoot just feels, it's closer to me, like to the version 1 Next Percent. Just feels snappy in the forefoot. They definitely to get the lower weight, I assume it's just like they've made it narrower through the midfoot. They've got a larger cutaway through the midfoot, this midfoot cavity here. The heel width is at least as wide, if not wider, than V3 though. So I think they've if you are landing on the heel, it's still relatively stable despite that large sort of real narrow cutaway and narrow width through the midfoot. But yeah, so I've been really enjoying it. I think I don't know. I basically need to do some long road sessions in it to sort of get an idea of whether it would be like a race shoe that I would use.
That'll be the test, won't it? The 20+K session.
Yeah,
exactly. I've done some 6-minute intervals in the shoe, and I've done 200-meter repeats. And for me, it feels like a fantastic shoe for 200-meter repeats and track running. So, and for 6-minute repeats and things like that at about the threshold, look, this shoe feels really light on foot. It feels like almost the lightest shoe that I think I own. And that's a big standpoint. I definitely need to take a slightly shorter stride. There's less in the forefoot. I can feel that. It is one of the few shoes that makes me want to hit further back in the shoe because it feels more comfortable, just a little bit. And that's with the heel raise in there. Ironically, I'll bring this shoe up. This is the one that Julian's posted about, and you did as well, which is the Streak Fly 2 as well. And the Streak Fly 2, even if you see it visibly, it almost looks like the forefoot has more height than the rear foot does on a relative term. So when you sit on the forefoot and you let the shoe sink back, it feels like it's on a negative pitch. when I run in this shoe, just because of the area that I hit in the shoe, I feel the substance of the forefoot of this shoe and the sub of the Streak Fly and of the Vaporfly feel pretty similar in cushioning in the forefoot. Obviously not back at the rear foot, but they feel very, very similar in the forefoot for me. So, yeah. So
I think that highlights like how unique you are, because like to me, the ride of those two are so different, and that's just because I do hit the rear foot. Like to me, the Vaporfly is such a more protective model than the Streak Fly.
Yeah,
I can't think of what I would use the Streak Fly for over the Vaporfly for, if that makes sense. I can't think of anything. Even a street mile race, I would probably still go for the Vaporfly 4 over the Streak Fly, I think. So they feel very close in terms of their purpose. So besides the looks and aesthetics and maybe feeling a bit slower to the ground perhaps, but yeah, hard to separate the two of them. Now they've really separated, I think, the Alpha Fly from the Vaporfly in terms of how the forefoot feels dramatically different.
Yeah.
All right.
You found it, Miss?
Well, I actually really enjoyed it. I put it on after wearing the Puma Fast R3, the Saucony Endorphin Elite, the Hoka Cielo X1 version 3, 2, something like that. And they've all been kind of spaceshipy and like so soft and mushy, not mushy, but like they feel really awkward underfoot to a degree. And the Vaporfly for me just felt really smooth. Like I was just going back to a shoe that did not interfere with my mechanics, that did not have a real sweet spot. It felt like I could hit the deck at multiple parts of the shoe and still get a good experience. The upper works for me really well. Potentially it's a little narrow through the midfoot because I did get a bit of soreness, but I'm not sure whether that was the shoe or what. I really like the new upper on the Vaporfly, and that plays a big part in the comfort level of shoes for me. The elastic laces they have, although they're really nice to sort of tighten the shoe up with, what happens, I think, is that the foot has there's too much give, and I was getting a bit of heel slip because the elastic laces were allowing my foot to expand with the shoe a bit too much. So that was an interesting one. I think until today, when I wore this new race shoe from one of these other brands, that was going to be the shoe that I would have done the marathon in. But yeah, that's a sign that it's a great shoe if you're considering wearing it for a marathon, I think. And at the weight they've got it at, like such a good weight too now. I think they've dropped it down to about 170 for a US 9. So
it's very light.
Yeah.
It's light.
All right, I got one more before we get into some listener questions, and it's it's sort of different to what we've talked about so far. This is a shoe that I put on when I had a bit of ankle pain, and I also had a bit of a calf issue going on. So it's the Hoka Mafate X. This is a trail shoe that's designed for ultra marathoners or someone who is going to be out for a fairly long period of time on the trails. Certainly not your agile, throw yourself down a single track type trail shoe. You can have a look. It's fairly beast-like through the back. It's super stable, really filled in through the midfoot. The foam is quite dense, but it does have a PEBA core to it. So it's the idea is that it's going to feel just as good at 120K into a race as it does at the start. And I feel like that I would be confident that it would too. There is a place.
It looks heavy. Is it heavy?
It's heavy. Yeah. We're looking at like 340 grams. Does have Vibram on the outsole, but they've exposed some foam areas just to keep the weight down a little bit. But Are
you saying that's a race shoe?
Well, no, it's an ultra shoe. It would be a race shoe for someone doing 100-miler, perhaps.
Okay.
Like, so it's a bit different. Like, it's an 8mm pitch as well. So that's kind of cool from Hoka. We're seeing 8mm pitch shoes come through with the Clifton, the new Arahi, and this Mafate X. So I think having and the new Challenger, I think, is 8mm pitch as well.
Everything's going to 8.
It works for me. Going to 8's good from Hoka. It means I'll get into more of their shoes happily. So it's a different type of shoe. It's a bit of a beast. I think for everyday running, it's probably a little bit too much shoe for most people. But if you're a bit more of a plotter, or you're a rear foot striker, or you're out there a long time, it's something to consider for sure. All right.
This gives me flashbacks, Tom, of when we had the podcast in the first year, and Julian was loving the Stinson. Remember the Hoka Stinson? He loved big, stable shoes. He'd go on the trails.
What about the Ultra Olympus? He was big into that.
That's still a comfy shoe. You know, they're bringing out a new Olympus that's lighter. So it's not really a race shoe, but it's just such a better upper on it. It's got like a matrix upper, but it's the same.
Bringing up to 4 mils of pitch, or
no?
Okay,
no pitch. I'm just going to go in, and I'm going to pull up some listener questions throughout from our inbox, and there's probably a few floating around in here. Probably should have shortlisted these in our request file.
Yeah, we got to let everyone know who's sending us messages. Sorry, we don't get back to you quickly. There are a lot of them, so we'll have jobs and families.
Yeah. Well, let's just go this one. This one's from Mitch. He's a school teacher. Takes about 12,000 steps a day. He needs to wear tie to school, so he can't wear running shoes. Is there a pair of smart casual walking shoes, maybe brown, on the market you'd recommend? I'd appreciate your help on this one, because my current shoes are heavy.
Well, Julian's got a walking shoe shop, mate. He would have 100 to choose from. So let's go through Julian
first. You got some nice brown, vibrant Five Fingers for Mitch?
Nah. So for Mitch, I'm gonna go roll straight into the Brooks Ghost Max Suede. Now, if I'm having to wear like smart casual, I'm wearing the Ghost Max Suede. That thing there is got the Ghost Max it's got the Ghost Max 2 midsole on it, but it's got a suede upper, and it looks schmick. A couple of different colors in that. It's a really generous fit too. So it only comes in men's D, women's B, but they're actually wider than the wide versions in the Ghost Max leather. So the suede Ghost Max is what you're after there, Mitch, in my opinion.
I always find this hard because a lot of this as well is like aesthetics, like what people want to wear. So it's like, well, yeah, you got to like feel out how like traditional formal do they want to go versus like this like athletic style, hybrid. And if I can I try and push as many people into this sort of hybrid casual trainer category as possible, because it's better. So, and there's heaps of good options out there now. Like even, just retro running shoes that are just much better for walking than you wouldn't want to run in those shoes now, but they've become fantastic walking shoes.
Yeah, they're good, and you could run in them. Like I had a young kid. He's like, he walks to uni. You guys seen the Nike P6000, and you get it in beige and things like that. Yeah, that's it. And I said that was 2006 Pegasus, and that was my high volume shoe back then, and that was what he's wearing casually to work. If you can run 100 Ks a week in that shoe, you can comfortably walk in a shoe like that. It is well and truly enough. I mean, even the lifestyle, New Balance and Saucony do some good lifestyle shoes now, which were like the 1970, 1980 marathon running shoes with the EVA midsoles. It might be a bit narrow in the midfoot, but still, if you're walking low, they're probably pretty good. If you can wear that with, if you need black and leather and things like that, it's a different story. You do need to go down the line of trying to find a suede or a leather version of shoes. That makes it difficult. But if you're happy to go to a slightly more sneaker aesthetic, there's so many options now.
Yeah, if you're more of a minimalist, we actually just got in the Vivo Barefoot, the RA4. Now I haven't know. This is like this is a barefoot shoe. It's full it's a leather upper. It's got a anatomical toe box, and it looks so nice. It's so clean and simple. There's just no cushion on it. So
I was
got
wearing a fabric upper Ultra Escalante. I don't. It was heavy. It was heavy underfoot, but it was actually really comfortable as a work shoe. And it, like a real wide anatomical foot as well. So I was wearing that for a while to work. So
yeah, that's not sure you get away with that with the tie.
probably not.
Just probably not. Nah, I reckon check out that. Yeah, I mean, there's the Brooks leather range. So the Brooks leather range, you've got the Addiction. They're pretty heavy, clumpy shoes, though. They're sort of not quite something you'd probably want to spend all day in. They're the opposite of the barefoot stuff.
They had a shoe called the Turin. Was it the Brooks Turin? It was like a black leather shoe. Was it Turin?
I don't know that. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, it came out. It was with, you could look, there were 2 leather shoes available. There was the Addiction. Actually, I think the Dyad was as well. And they had this shoe called the Turin. It was like almost like a court shoe. It was like an ascent.
Okay.
Yeah, and it didn't last for long, but it was out there for a while. Brooks built that for a bit.
Yeah, I don't remember that. All right, next question. From Callan. Bit of a random question came up in a chat. Is there any risk of degradation or loss in quality of super shoes that have been stored in a box in a cupboard but not used for years on end? Stemming from the fact that he's got a pair of Vaporfly Next Percent from 2019, never worn in a cupboard.
Mm-hmm.
The green ones, they're the goat. They're the best.
The green, and they also had pink. Don't forget the pink ones.
Yeah, the pink.
Yeah. Look, this is a good question. I remember putting on. I've got a pair of the Flyknit, the 4% Flyknits, for example, and they were about 2018, maybe 2019 as well. And I hadn't worn them for about 2 years, and they had done 50 Ks on them. And they felt firmer and harder after 2 years of being stored in a box. But I could not tell you if that was the case because all the shoes I'd worn since then were so much softer, or if the material had degraded just with time. I don't think there's a lot of evidence for it. But look, I don't know how PIBA acts for a long period of time. My guess is like feeling like TPU materials. This stuff doesn't look like it's great for the environment. That looks like it's going to last forever. I'm not sure about PIBA. But PIBA might be one of those materials which maybe have a lifespan attached to it. Do you guys know anything on that, or?
No, I don't.
No.
I was hoping you guys might have an answer here. This is
you're
probably
right, though. Like these sorts of like blown plastics instead of the traditional EVAs, that they might be. I have a feeling they might be like less vulnerable to exposure to the elements. But
I think so.
You're right. Like I've had that I've got some old Next Percents, and you'll never know. Like I can't tell whether it's age or whether my perception, because I'm using different shoes, I think, and that's going to do your head in. Like so it's almost like you get to a certain point, it's not even worth, because you're just going to be questioning whether is this still as functioning as it would new.
There's got to be someone who listens to this show who's slightly academic who have an idea on these properties of materials that need to write in and give us an idea. And because it is a question that we sort of, it's been asked a couple of times. We've been talking about it intermittently for 3 to 4 years, and we stopped talking about it because we get new shoes all the time. But they're like, and it'll be a good question. And people that need to know it are like Croaks, guys who reserve the shoes for like, like, oh, I won't use this particular shoe. Well, look, if there's a
Theo, hey.
Yeah, so there could be there could be merit for it'd be good for retail if they degrade. Yeah,
pretty sure they would degrade, mate. Real quick. Yeah, I'll reach out to some people, and hopefully some people send in too, because that'd be good to know. Yeah.
The only interesting stat I know is like as a sub analysis when Hukamer did the original study on the 4%. Apparently, he sent back some of the samples back to Nike for some mechanical testing, and apparently after 50 miles, there was no difference in mechanical quality. So that's not so much time-based degradation, but like just using the shoe. Like if you're going to do a marathon, you can do another marathon in a Vaporfly. It's not.
And that's that whole like theory of being relative, right? If you wear a shoe for 200 Ks of PIBA and you put that PIBA shoe back on, remember your first pair of Vaporflies, Tommy, went out to 900 Ks or whatever in it?
Oh yeah, like, you remember that? Yeah,
I remember that. But like it was a great example of like that shoe was still better than most of the other racing shoes on the market, if not all of them. But maybe compared to a brand new one, maybe it wasn't quite as economical, but it was still better than everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. They're two pretty good questions. I reckon we wrap it up here now, fellas. And we'll put some of we'll get some more info and we'll share it through our Instagram actually when those answers come in.
Yeah. And look, like the next pod that we get out as well, we'll cover some of the new shoes. I'm excited for that podcast as well. So hopefully we can get some content out just beforehand. But yeah, we'll see.
Before they release, you mean?
We're not. Well, I actually don't know the release dates for them as well, but I think it's in July or August, isn't it? There's a varied drop of them, but yeah. Anyway, so there's a fair bit to talk about.
There are some upcoming releases that should be fun. So the Structure 26 from Nike releases. We got the Endorphin Speed 5 from Saucony coming out. Triumph 23, Sky version 9 from Mizuno.
Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah.
Ghost Max 3 from Brooks. Actually, here we go. I'm going to tell you what's coming out that's in the top 1% of what I'm looking forward to. The Brooks Hyperion Max is the first performance Brooks shoe that is a contender for the top of class in the category it hits. So the Super Trainer from Brooks.
Okay.
Yeah, Hyperion Max. It's as good as any Super Trainer I've put on my foot. It's plated. It's got good foam. It's got good rock points. A nice fit. And when we got shown the range like 6 months ago, we put on a bunch of Super Trainers, and this was by far the best. So Hyperion Max from Brooks, we're pretty pumped about that. That's really exciting, actually.
I haven't worn Brooks since the Hyperion Tempo, mate. So
yeah, it's different. You'll be shocked. To be honest, you'll be shocked.
Foam the new DNA Gold, the PIBA?
I can't get into the specs now. I'm just telling you potential shoes coming up. It's not really. There's one or two reviews that have gone through the marketing channels, but there'll be a bigger launch where we
may get the what about the New Balance Rebel V5? I'm keen for that.
Yeah, that's
the Supercop Elite V5's coming out not long after, I think.
Yeah, well, I haven't got to New Balance, mate.
Okay, fair enough.
We've got the Kayano 32. You'll be pumped about that. Kayano 32, which is actually like a lot more in line with what I like. Not far off, Vomero Plus from Nike.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah,
looks really good.
It's just crazy that the current Vomero 18 is like the most minimal Vomero that's going to be out there. Like, to me, it's still pretty push.
At 46 mil.
I've enjoyed the Vomero 18 the whole way through. Like, it hasn't got worse for me. Definitely got slightly better, I think.
Yeah, Rocket X3 from Hoka is going to be also a contender for best in category as well.
That's going to be like the longest update of any model I've seen. Like the Rocket X2 has been out for what, 3 years?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, but this is steps
How
up.
many shoes are going to go to TPU now as their main midsole for performance racing? All of them?
Or not Nike? Not. Well, what's the Adidas? What's that? That's PIBA.
That's like an ATPU.
Oh, it's ATPU, not PIBA.
No, and the Light Strike Pro is, I'm pretty sure it's a TPE. So it's closer to TPU.
Yeah. We actually, I think at work we have a list of all the foams and all the shoes that use the different foams. We'll have to do that every season now.
This 6-minute testing that they use as a standard protocol for economy, which is where they're marking these shoes and what the public sort of look at first. There's no doubt the material for TPU seems to be more economical. I mean, I saw Jeff Burns, who was one of the original researchers of any sort of super shoe, as he used the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2 on that test, which no doubt will give you great economy testing. Of course, there's variables of it being a bit less stable and other room for error at the end of a marathon. I'll be very surprised if 2 years from now we're talking about materials outside of ATPU being used as at least half of the material in a midsole.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going that way. Better characteristics. Yeah. All right. Well, boys, Tom, no doubt you're going to get cracking on a video for our socials later today. So we'll look forward to that, Nitter, seeing him pump something out.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. I always like Tom's stuff. They go for 4 minutes each time.
He loves talking, doesn't he? He just loves
That's
the
why.
sound
That's
of his
why I
own
haven't put any
voice.
more up, because the last one you gave me stickers. It was what, like 1 minute over what you wanted. Too long.
It
Apparently.
was 3 minutes. It was 3 minutes over, and you've got to provide, like, you're a bit monotone. I want to hear some excitement in your voice.
No.
Get
I'm monotone. That's all I got. That's all I got.
All right, Nita, we'll see you soon. Maybe on the Gold Coast. You boys going to the Gold Coast?
I'll be there.
Not for me.
Tommy's there.
Half
Yeah,
time
doing
or full?
Wow. What shoe?
Just training.
What shoe?
Just gonna have a hard hit out in the half for training for the Sydney Marathon.
What shoe are you wearing?
I'm either gonna wear the Vaporfly, the new Vaporfly, or I might be wearing the Adidas Evo one.
Oh yeah.
If I want to use that one, I might save that for Sydney.
Will you get the Evo 2, Tom?
Probably not, to be honest, because I feel like I got enough forefoot in. It's like lower drop, right? I need as much drop as I can get.
Got it.
So yeah, I reckon version 1's enough.
What are you wearing for Gold Coast, Julian? You gonna wear, like, the Vaporfly 4 or?
No, I'm wearing the shoe I wore today. At the
Oh, good. Yeah.
So this shoe, put on fit through the forefoot, great for me. The softness is what I was missing from some of those other. Maybe it is the Vaporfly, the softness I'm missing.
TPU.
Yeah, it was beautiful, and the rocket earlier for me. Boom.
Yeah. I thought that would be your shoe. As soon as I put that on, I'm like, oh yeah, this will, and I think it will probably be Tom's as well.
Yeah,
I think I need to go down half a size.
Okay,
sub 215, guys. Just sub 215 only. Hey, it's all I got these days, boys. You could give me a minute here.
All right, we'll leave you guys to it. I'm going to see my daughter's school.
See ya.
See you later.
See ya.